The day the HOA's courtesy patrol cut across my lawn and crushed the little cedar cross my daughter made for my dad. Something in me went quiet. Not loud, not dramatic, quiet like the click of a lock. I live on the bend of Willow Creek Road, where pavement loosens into gravel and the maples throw shade every afternoon. Folks out here used to know each other's dogs and wave from pickups. That was before the HOA decided my front yard was a shortcut. Easier than fixing the sidewalk they were supposed to maintain. It started small. 2 teenagers on scooters, a mail carrier in a rush, a neighbor with a little dog. I don't mind people. I mind the principle where neighborly turns into entitled, and your grass becomes a public alley because someone won't take 50 extra steps. The complaints arrived right on time. Your berm isn't uniform. Your flag light's too bright. Your truck's a nuisance if it's visible. Old. Section numbers in a font trying its best to look like law. The president, Karen, and yes, that's her real name, called them friendly reminders. Her smile had the warmth of an August porch light, bright, buzzing, and full of things you don't want near your face. I tried to keep peace. Trimmed the berm. Adjusted the light. My wife Amy said, "Honey, if you don't feed it, it'll move on." But the patrols kept cutting through from the clubhouse lot to the street. Weeknights at 8. Saturdays at 10. Sundays after the policy potluck. Clipboards, radios, little reflective vests that make some folks feel deputized by the universe. One evening I stepped out with a mug of black coffee the way Dad took his and watched them slice across my grass like they owned it. Boots printing wet turf. One stepped into the flower bed my daughter and I built around the cedar cross. The cross tipped. I set my coffee down and pressed it upright again, palms in the dirt. "Sir?" the patrol leader called, a little breathless. "HOA business. Common convenience." "My lawn isn't a convenience," I said. He glanced at his clipboard. "We have a right-of-way." "You have a sidewalk," I said, nodding at the cracked, overgrown strip along the road. "And you've neglected it." He didn't argue, just radioed something and moved on. The next morning, a letter sat in my mailbox. Non-compliant memorial structure. Signed by Karen. No call. Just paper people using paperwork in place of courage. I laid the notice beside the folded flag from Dad's funeral. The house smelled like bacon and pine cleaner. Amy touched my shoulder. "You okay?" "I'm tired," I said. Tired of people mistaking politeness for permission. The shortcut became a parade. Strangers. Clipboards like shields. My lawn turned from lush to streaked. The cross tilted twice more. I took photos. Printed the plat map from my deed. In my head I heard Dad when we fixed fence lines on the ranch. "Measure twice, son. Set the post where it belongs, and don't apologize for a straight line." By Friday night it got ugly. 3 patrol members came after dark, boots clumping, joking. "Uniform berm, my butt. And if he doesn't like it, call the county." Then the sound would underheel. Not dirt this time. The cedar cross. I didn't see which boot did it. I heard the snap and stepped into the porch light. They froze. The cross lay split at the grain. "Double quotes, sir?" "We didn't see, of course you didn't," I said. I picked up the pieces and felt that quiet click again. You stop seeing the line when you're used to stepping over it. I carried the cross inside to the workbench. Amy stood in the doorway, arms folded. "Enough. Enough," I said. "I'm done reacting. Time to set the line where it belongs." That night I pulled the plat map, the CCRs, the county right-of-way documents, poured a second coffee, and read like a man who wasn't moving anymore. The sidewalk was supposed to be clear. The HOA let it turn into a ribbon of weeds, because trespassing is easier than repair. No right-of-way across my lawn. Plenty of rules about uniform lawns, sure, and one about respecting property lines. I read until the porch light timed out and the maples went black against the moon. Saturday morning, I called County Roads. Then my buddy who installs irrigation and wildlife cameras. "I need something precise," I said. "Legal and unforgettable, without hurting anyone." He laughed. "You want a surprise?" "A lesson that sticks," I said. "Then you'll love this," he said. Rainbirds. By noon, I'd flagged the property line. By 3, my buddy was trenching neat as stitches. By 5, we had motion-activated sprinklers set low in the beds, sited exactly on the worn shortcut. Nothing on the sidewalk, nothing on the street. A wildlife camera in the maple, a solar spotlight to snap on with motion. And one more thing, landscaper dye washable. Non-toxic turns water sky blue for a day, so crews see where they've sprayed. It wouldn't stain forever, but it would make a point. I posted small, courteous signs. Private lawn, please use sidewalk. Rebuilt my daughter's cedar cross-glued. Pegged clear coated, set it back a step, and drove a tiny brass tack at the base. Dad loved the details only craftsmen notice, as the sun dropped and the maples went orange at the edges. I traced the old line with my boot, not angry, not eager, ready. There's a peace that comes when you stop asking for respect and start teaching it. Sunday morning sounds different in a small town, mowers. A rooster across the creek, a hymn drifting from the white church on County 12. I walked the yard with coffee, testing the system. Quiet, until I stepped onto the shortcut. TCH, TCH, TCH. The heads peeked up like birds and whoosh. A clean fan of blue caught the sun like glass. I laughed. Hard not to when a plan works exactly as pictured in your head. At 9, I called the sheriff's non-emergency line. Deputy, we've had repeated trespassing by HOA patrols. I've posted signs, installed motion sprinklers on my private lawn, and set a wildlife camera. There's a sidewalk they refuse to use. A drive-by this afternoon would help, logged a dispatcher said. If anything happens, call. I texted my neighbor, Tom Vietnam vet, flies a flag older than mine. He'd watched the circus for weeks. Come by after the meeting. Might be a show at noon. I walked the perimeter, checked the plat against my little stakes. The wind smelled like cut grass in someone's barbecue. Amy set lemonade on the porch. Our boy Ben shot hoops in the drive. Our daughter Claire touched the cedar cross. Looks stronger, Dad. It is, I said. So are we. Round 2. The meeting let out. You can tell by the parade golf carts. 2 Suburbans with the president's friends. A gaggle of clipboards. Karen came last, sunglasses pitched like a judge's gaze. She'd once told me, in that slow voice people use with toddlers, we're here to bring uniformity and beauty. Then fix the sidewalk, I'd said. They spilled out like always and aimed straight for my lawn. You'd think the signs would do it. You'd think common sense would. But entitlement moves before the brain catches up. The first boot hit grass. The rainbirds woke. Whoosh. A blue arc lifted and fell like summer rain. There's a split second when someone realizes they're getting sprayed. 2 choices. Keep trespassing or turn back and admit you're wrong. They always keep going, hey? Someone yelped. Another laughed. Then the gasps blew, soaking hymns and shoes. It doesn't ruin anything. It marks what happened, like a useful consequence. 3 tried to sprint the rest of the way, slipping, skidding. Sprinklers tracked them like polite sentries. The solar spotlight popped bright. The wildlife camera blinked red. I had a small speaker under the maple paired to a recording. Not a siren. My voice calm. Private property. Please use the sidewalk along Willow Creek Road. You are trespassing. This is a recorded message. You'd think the ground opened. People hate hearing their offense named out loudest, especially when the only shelter is the truth. A few froze. 3 ducked their heads like kids caught in a garden. Karen stopped at the edge. Blue speckled her white flats. She looked down, then up at me on the porch. Is this necessary? She called, Is trespassing necessary?
Yes,
I said. There's a sidewalk. She took off her sunglasses. We've used this path for years. You've used my lawn, I said. Instead of maintaining the public right-of-way, there's no easement here, County, confirmed Friday. You've been putting your boots where they don't belong because it's easy. I nodded at the spray. This makes it easier to remember.
at.
She gestured at the cedar cross. And that. A violation? That, I said evenly, is my daughter's cross for her grandfather. Not your property. Never was. She flushed wasn't from the water. The board will fine you for this stunt. Paper is your routine, I said. I'm not fining anyone. I'm watering my grass and setting a boundary. The sidewalk's open. Tom clapped once loud as a gavel. A couple neighbors drifted out with phones. I didn't ask them to. People notice lines of it if they wait for someone else to draw the first one. 10 minutes later, the sheriff rolled up. The deputy Young steady took. In the signs, the sidewalk, the blue-footed crowd. Afternoon, he said. Call about trespassing? I nodded. Posted signs. Asked them to use the sidewalk for weeks. Installed motion sprinklers with non-toxic dye so there's no arguing where folks walked. Cameras on that maple. Karen stepped forward. Officer, this is an HOA matter. He's created a hazard. The deputy looked at her shoes, then the grass. Ma'am, the only hazard I see is wet turf on private property. The sidewalk is right there. It's in disrepair, she said. That's a board issue, he said evenly. Not the homeowners. If you step on his lawn after being told not to, that's trespassing. He took statements. Checked the plat. Watched the camera, clipped blue arcs, startled faces, cause and effect. Not humiliating, honest. Finally, he turned to Karen. I suggest you direct your folks to the sidewalk until the board fixes it. If I get another call, there'll be citations. Karen swallowed and smiled, the kind of smile that costs teeth. We'll discuss it at the next meeting. You're welcome to discuss it on the sidewalk, I said. That night, the shortcut glistened like a wet ribbon and the porch light empty. No feet, no jokes. Just crickets and the creek talking to the rocks. Amy leaned on the doorframe. You didn't yell. I don't want to fight, I said. I want a line. You drew one, she said. Look straight to me. I poured a little water at the base of the cedar cross and watched it soak. Dad used to say, fences are love notes to your future self. Turns out, sprinklers can be too. News travels fast when there's something worth gossiping about. By Monday morning, half the town had seen blue shoes at the grocery store. The dye washes out, just not before church, the diner shift, or a curious kid asking, What happened, Mommy? Embarrassment teaches what fines won't. At 8 a.m., the HOA blasted an email. Members must use designated sidewalks. The board is reviewing maintenance needs. It's the first time in 2 years they used maintenance for anything but my yard. I stuck it on the fridge with a tractor magnet. That afternoon, a county crew showed up truck grinder, trimmers chewing through weeds like a dentist after too long between checkups. I brought iced tea. The foreman squinted at my beds and grinned. Heard you installed rainbirds with opinions. Only when provoked, I said. 2 days later, special session, the clubhouse. I went not to gloat, but because people who draw lines ought to show up when they're discussed. Styrofoam coffee? A flag in the corner. A mission statement about community. Karen sighed into the mic. We're here to address recent events regarding homeowner noncompliance and misuse of irrigation equipment. I raised a hand. Point of order. The sidewalk is repaired. Trespassing has stopped. What's the misuse? She pressed her lips. Colored water on a path commonly used by members. A path across my lawn, I said. Tom stood in back. Madam President, the sidewalk was a wreck. The board let it go. That's on you, a murmur. People aren't always brave alone. They get braver when the truth is simple and visible. Joan Quiet neighbor with a postcard garden raised her hand. I slipped on his grass once. Know what I did? Stopped walking on it. Low laughter, useful laughter. A young mom near the front said, The blue washed out. My son thought it was funny. He also learned where not to walk. Maybe we all did. You could feel the temperature shift. Paper power wilts when real people start talking. Karen tried, let's remember decorum, but momentum had moved. The board voted to fund regular sidewalk maintenance and to adopt a reminder. Do not use private lawns as shortcuts. Shouldn't require a vote. Some truths need ceremonies so folks can pretend they arrived together. Afterward, Karen came over with a smile that almost reached her eyes. I suppose we both got what we wanted. I wanted a sidewalk, I said. and my dad's cross standing. She glanced at the photo in my wallet, cross glued and healed. "I didn't know," she said softly. "You didn't ask," I said gentle. It's not too late to start. We stepped into the evening. The clubhouse flag hung still like the wind was catching its breath. People talked in small clusters. The town felt like itself again. In the weeks that followed, the track across my grass disappeared under fresh growth. The rainbirds stayed, coming on now for what they were meant to, watering the beds, reminding the forgetful. The camera caught deer, foxes, and one raccoon who looked like he was casing the place. The blue dice stayed unopened on a garage shelf. One Saturday, Claire and I set a small plaque by the cedar cross, a brass strip with Dad's name and years, knee-like straight lines and second chances. Beneath it, we tucked his photo in uniform, sealed against the weather. Amy brought lemonade. Tom played a harmonica tune that made the maple leaves shake like they were clapping. Neighbors stopped to look, not to cut through, just to look. June left a sprig of rosemary. The young mom squeezed my arm. Later, Karen walked past slowly, eyes soft. She didn't say anything. She didn't have to. The sheriff cruises by sometimes and lifts 2 fingers off the wheel. Not official neighborly. The kind of wave that says we're good here. Most evenings I sit on the porch with coffee, listening to the creek. The porch light throws a warm circle on the steps. My truck sits where I can see it, and nobody complains. Because we found something better than complaining, responsibility, Dad used to say. Winning is getting your peace back without taking someone else's forever. I didn't want Karen permanently embarrassed. I wanted her aware. That's what the blue water did, told the truth in a color you can wash away. Sometimes, I hear the sprinkler heads twitch at dusk and smile. Little guardians, polite as can be, reminding folks where the line is. Not vengeance. Maintenance of grass, of respect, of a story we're all trying to live without stepping on each other. The strongest stand isn't loud, it's steady. Draw a straight line. Keep it clean. The right people will step beside you. Ever had an HOA or neighbor crossed your line? Tell me in the comments, I'll read every one. If you believe some fights are worth having, hit subscribe and let's stand up together.